Welcome to MuggleCast, your weekly ride into the world of Harry Potter for 20 years and counting. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
I thought you were going to say, I'm old.
Old. I was trying not to say it, but gosh, you guys, 20 years of MuggleCast next week.
I want to remind everybody that we're your Harry Potter friends talking about the books, the movies, the upcoming TV show for the next 20 years as well. So make sure you press that follow button in your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss a week with your Potter people. And this week, we've got one foot on the ledge of the stone dais because there's voices coming from inside the veil. There are people in there, we swear. We hear them. We're discussing Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 34, the Department of Mysteries. Laura couldn't make it this week, but we are very excited to be joined by Eric's wife, Meg. Welcome back, Meg.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be back and here to talk about some mysteries and some departments.
Is this the first time you've been on since you two got married?
Ooh.
I think it is. I was on with the hype and we talked about cozy games, but I think this is the first MuggleCast that I'm on.
Nice.
The first MuggleCast marriage with current panelists.
I wondered who would get that first, that accolade. But
Eric's
looks like
it's got to be me. I got to make it happen.
Yeah. Quick, Meg,
So
come over
how's
here.
married life? Tell us.
Oh gosh.
We hang out with our cat.
Yeah.
How's Martha?
Martha's good. She's locked out of both of our rooms though right now. So
no.
if we hear a loud bang, she's
Usually
gone
she hangs
rogue.
out with me during MuggleCast hours, but no, I'm on the job tonight.
Well, we appreciate you, Meg, hopping on and at the last minute. You know your stuff, though. I feel like you're ready at any moment to discuss Harry Potter. Any chapter,
see.
anytime.
We'll see.
Well,
we'll hope.
And she just transcribed, because Meg is our transcriber, she just transcribed the big Department of Mysteries episode we did. So she's more familiar with our thoughts from 8 years ago than we are.
Yeah, I know the theories that you were talking about back then.
Well, MuggleCast does turn 20 years old the first week of August. We're actually recording July 31st, Harry Potter's birthday, so it's quite a special week in the Wizarding world and the MuggleCast world. Harry turned 45 years old, as we discussed in bonus MuggleCast, which we also had a lot of fun with, right, Micah?
Yeah, we had a great time. We went through all of Harry's birthdays in the Harry Potter series, so from books 1 to 7, and then we came up with some gift ideas for him. We gave some gift ideas to some characters. Might have gotten a little inappropriate at times, but that's the beauty of bonus MuggleCast. When you're behind the paywall, anything goes. Andrew cannot censor me like he can in this show.
His powers stop at the door.
Right, the capability just does not exist.
Oh, man.
It's Micah Unleashed back there.
So, yeah, MuggleCast turns 20 in the first week of August, and to celebrate, we'll be doing a 20th anniversary themed episode of the show next week, so look forward to that. And we're also celebrating by launching a special deal on our Patreon. We have not done this before. For the whole month of August, you can get 20% off an annual subscription to our Patreon. This is the largest discount we have ever offered on our Patreon. Typically, when you pledge for a year up front, you would get 10 to 15% off. Now you can get 20% off for the month of August. Just visit patreon.com/MuggleCast and at checkout, enter promo code 20years, 20 years. We really wanted to do a promotion on Patreon because our Patreon is the reason why we have made it this far. So thank you to everyone who has supported us there. If you aren't a member, help us reach the next 20-year milestone. And next week, as a teaser, I'll just say now, I want us to make predictions about what's going on in the Harry Potter fandom 20 years from now.
Oh, my
Start
God.
thinking about that.
Harry Potter's 65th birthday. He retires from the Ministry of Magic. Can't wait for that bonus.
Your support helps us keep the show running as reliably as the giant motor powering that spinning room with all those doors. And to thank you for supporting this indie podcast, you'll get 2 bonus episodes of the show every month. You'll also get ad-free episodes and physical gifts. In fact, we just announced year 4 of the MuggleCast Collectors Club. 5 brand new stickers celebrating MuggleCast past and present are available now. Micah, tell everybody the stickers that we have.
All right. Are you ready for these stickers? There is a sticker to commemorate our 700th episode. We recently celebrated 700 episodes not that long ago. A I declare canon, which obviously I can't do as well as Andrew, with the design inspired by Monty Python. Do we have that clip?
Yeah, here, I'll I declare canon!
That's what it sounded like here just an hour or so ago.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
A birthday cake created by Hagrid, just for us.
That was so nice of him to do that.
Not for Harry, just for us. And let's not forget Quizzage with a design inspired by Jeopardy and a goat with a headset. Wonder who that's for.
That's for you. It says for Micah.
Oh, yeah, but it was weird if I read it like that.
Yeah, I know.
So
Just
thank you
for me.
for the assist.
Yeah, so these are all inspired, like we said, by MuggleCast references, past and present. We have a lot of fun dreaming these up. We have one more year of the Collectors Club to go, so please don't miss out. Patreon.com/MuggleCast. Put in 20 years at checkout, and you'll get 20% off an annual membership. And by the way, we have the Collectors Club, and then we have a separate physical gift that goes out to Slug Club patrons, and we're going to be announcing that next week. Eric, is that the plan?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's an exciting time to pledge. This 20% discount has come at the perfect time because
this is the time of year to do it. Yeah,
it is. Thanks as always for those goes out to Anna, who we use, who's designed the entire Collectors Club. She has been a wonderful collaborator to work with on this and is the artist behind all of the magic.
Yeah, like our album art, our current album art. She did that as well.
It occurs to me she also did the 19 Years Later shirt that we did last year that I'm wearing now.
She did. Yeah.
So
she's always
basically
up to
our
work with us.
go-to.
Well, thanks everybody. And onward we go into the next 20 years. And this week we're discussing Order of the Phoenix Chapter 34, The Department of Mysteries.
As mentioned last week, this was a shared chapter discussion episode. We talked about it on episode 471 of MuggleCast called Punked, which is what Harry gets in this chapter, Punked. And that aired on June 30th of 2020. Here is a clip from our discussion for chapter 34.
3 turns should do it, I think. Good luck.
What the...
Episode 471.
Don't we later find out that that's the love room?
Yeah, Dumbledore tells Harry. He asks him directly, what's in that door, Professor?
And see, this is why I think that probably under normal circumstances, all these other doors would be locked too. But I could see the Death Eaters opening them, except the love door, because they're like, we don't want to open that one, because that defeated our boss last time.
Or they're just like, ew, gross, love.
Yeah. Ew.
Cuties.
Cooties.
Maybe Bellatrix opened it just a little bit, and then that's why we have a cursed child.
Oh.
Mysterious thing, time.
I do like this segment because I forget about the things we said.
It's good to look back. It's good to look back.
It's fun little reminders.
Yeah. And speaking of looking back, there was actually, it's funny. So 471, we talked about the Department of Mysteries. We also did a big, as mentioned at the top of the show, Department of Mysteries deep dive episode. This was number 374. And that is on our audio feed, and the transcript as well is now available. That's from June 25th of 2018. That was the episode where we really went room by room. And we're like, what are our thoughts? Which we will be doing some of in this week. But first, you guys, I have to talk about Thestrals, because this very unique way that our heroes get to London for their rescue mission is kind of something that, because you're very excited, the momentum of this chapter is so real. You finally want to get to London. There have been all these setbacks. You finally want to get there. I find myself not often questioning just what really is happening with the Thestrals. So my question to you all, and this is going to sound bad, don't read too much into it. I just want to ask, why don't more of Harry's friends die getting to London? Because this is a terrifying thing. Half of them can't even see the creatures they're riding on. Luna helped them up at the thing. It was just like, you got this.
being up in the air and not knowing what I'm flying on would probably give me a panic attack. I have enough of a panic attack risk on a plane, and I can see everything I'm sitting down on and whatnot.
Yeah.
But this in the open air, flying on an invisible object, it's scary. It's scary.
And a living, breathing, beating wings creature too, as well. Like it just, at one point there's a scream and Harry fully expects to look around and see somebody falling. It's just like, there's no protection here. There's no, and what would he do if that were the case, if somebody was falling? You really can't hope for anything here. This is terrifying.
I think some credit can be given to the Thestrals because, well, first of all, they're smart enough to understand English. I feel like they also are thus smart enough to understand, like, a living thing is on my back and I'm in charge of them not dying. And we also know that Dumbledore rides Thestrals sometimes. Earlier in the book, Hagrid says something like, Dumbledore takes the Thestrals to London sometimes when he doesn't want to apparate. And Dumbledore is kind of, old and rickety. And you imagine if he can survive this, then the others. I also think, Ron and Ginny, despite not being able to see the Thestrals, they play Quidditch. They probably have some instinct on how to not die while flying on something in the air.
True.
Neville, while not athletic, he can see the Thestrals, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hermione should have died.
Wow.
I had some things I was going to say to some of the middle stuff, but just the end there.
Given her recent commentary on horse-like creatures, you would think
that's
the
true.
Thestrals were listening in the bushes and they heard her and they're just going to back kick her off mid-flight.
I don't know whether or not the Thestrals understand English, but I do know they understand the currency of warm blood on their robes. Hermione and Harry's.
So they understood English.
I guess so.
They understood visitors' entrance.
They got them right there. I wonder if it's the same magic as owls that, kind of lead these flying creatures to a destination. All you have to do is state it.
So what I imagined when you asked this question was either how I appeared when riding Hagrid's magical creature motorbike adventure. I was gripping on for dear life, even though I was on a motorbike.
I was going to say, I don't remember you falling
it's a great photo, actually. We should find it and share it in the show notes. Or being in the middle seat on an airplane. That's the worst seat, arguably, to be in. And you just feel like you can't move, especially if you're, a little bit of a bigger person like myself.
Nicole, who's listening live on our Patreon right now, is saying, I guess we have to credit Hagrid for having them so well trained. And I think we should do that because we tend to be a little critical of Hagrid on this podcast. And
maybe Hagrid also taught them English.
I don't know.
He's teaching Grop English.
He did. Well, no, is he? Is he really?
He's taught Grop 5 words in English.
Yeah. All of his efforts. All of his efforts went to teaching the Thestrals English so that Dumbledore could take them to London when he wanted to. So, this is a little less luxurious than one would hope, but it is emergency transport. To Micah's point and Meg's point, they do go exactly where they need to. But this is actually not the first invisible thing that our heroes have ridden above the skies of Hogwarts and of London. We often love connecting the threads, but I was getting flashbacks to the sometimes invisible Mr. Weasley's flying car, which also was not as pleasant of an experience as it should have been. But also just in general, hippogriffs, when Harry rides Buckbeak, they go above Hogwarts. The broomstick, at times it's been uncomfortable. So I guess what we're gathering is no magical mode of transportation can just be everything you want it to be. Just like no public transit in the Muggle world is 100% foolproof.
They all have a bit of danger to them. That's, it's something we talk about in the Wizarding world. Everything's got a little tinge of danger to it.
It feels like broomstick would probably have been the best option here, just given how familiar most of them are with it. Thestrals, they're taking on for the first time. So there's that element of it too, where there's a high level of unpredictability, and presumably with the broomstick, and maybe you could have done this with a Thestral too. Could more than one of them have fit on instead of making Ron, Hermione, and Ginny ride creatures they can't see.
Yeah, that probably would have been smart. I'm also just thinking brooms would have been smart because, like you said, they know how to use brooms. If, heaven forbid, they got into some danger while in the air, Death Eaters, whatever else, they'd be able to act faster, I think, to deflect, fly away. Whereas with the Thestrals, if you don't know how to really control them, you might get into some trouble there.
Yeah, you'd think that they could have just been like, let's head down to the Quidditch pitch and grab some brooms to go. Like, especially because
Umbridge,
to go.
to go. Especially because Umbridge is the one who's, been cracking dawn at everyone, but she's gone now.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure
stop them.
After all they went through to get as far as they did and get rid of Umbridge, the last thing Harry wanted to do was wrestle a troll to get his broom back. But the school training brooms are right there. The cupboard that they're kept in, or the shed that gets mentioned a couple of times throughout the series, that's right there. So pretty interesting, but we're going to land and enjoy the meat of the chapter, which is, of course, the most mysterious place of all time. First, we would like to hear a few words from our sponsors. Cool. So we are in London and we are entering the manual public entrance to the ministry that Harry, so good he was paying attention and knows what numbers to dial on the telephone, but he doesn't even say thank you to the Thestrals. I can't believe it. Just like, we need a Harry sucks count, honestly. It's time to start it.
He gave his Thestral a pat. I don't know if anyone else did. But he gives his Thestral a presumably,
and they're gone because there's garbage that they can root through. They're like coyotes.
Yeah, maybe they thought that was their feast. They're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm with you on criticizing Harry for not thanking them, because these poor Thestrals are apparently so desperate for food that they're going into a dumpster to find something. That's a sad state of affairs for them.
It's crazy because with most people being unable to see them, especially even in the Muggle world, they could probably get up to some real hijinks in a major city. They could eat anything they want.
Yeah, steal a lot. If like some nice old fellow is sitting on a park bench and he puts his cupcake down and he doesn't see any birds, but the cupcake starts disappearing bite by bite, like he won't be able to know why.
There's some good food in London.
Yeah.
Could go get a curry, go to a chippy.
Sorry, a chippy?
A chip shop.
Oh,
fish and chips.
So Andrew, there's a Harry's muttering to himself, and there's a particular moment that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, so Harry does say, if Voldemort decided Sirius was going to crack, I would know. He isn't feeling any emotion coming from Voldemort in this whole chapter, actually. And this should have been a major red flag that something was awry. Something's not right. Maybe he should have slowed down and considered this vision a little more. Because if this really was happening, Harry and Voldemort's connection would have been experiencing something. Because Sirius definitely wouldn't have cracked for Voldemort. He would rather die.
Right. And why no follow-up imagery? Why no other kind of flashes, especially because Harry's going towards where Voldemort is? I mean, Harry's scar works like a magnet like this. And if they get closer, Harry should be feeling more, not less.
Right.
It's really just been that one vision. And then everything that's gone on since then could maybe be seen as distracting Harry. But there's just nothing. Nothing's coming through on the feed. If you were to turn the television on, it would be static right now.
But he was so cold, he couldn't feel anything.
He's numb. That's the secret to avoiding Voldemort's pain through your scar.
Oh man, that's better than occlumency.
But yeah, rather than if Voldemort did truly have Sirius at the Department of Mysteries right now, and this was what Harry was feeling through his scar, the only way that would be possible is if Voldemort had said Sirius, all right, now we just kick back and we wait. And then, Voldemort stretched out on a nice long chair somewhere.
Hammock.
On a hammock, yeah. Got out
There's
a
probably
magazine.
hammocks down in the Unspeakables break room.
There's got to be.
There's got to be.
They have foosball too.
In fairness to Harry, though,
air hockey.
Arthur's vision only happened once.
This is why rather than being taught occlumency all year, Harry should have just been learning like SCAR 101. Like
how you know your scar's being honest.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's a great point, Micah, that's well taken. I think you've made a similar one before in that, like, I've never really put too much weight on the cleverness of having the Mr. Weasley scene in this book, because it really justifies a lot of Harry and Ron's behavior. It talks about why they believe in Harry's vision, and it also talks about why he doesn't question it. It just plants it works on so many levels to have had the Mr. Weasley thing happen at Christmas, so that this fake vision can just pervade and escape unscrutinized in June.
And such an emotional pull too, because when Harry sees Sirius in danger, that's Harry's emotional pull. He's like, oh my God, my godfather is in danger. And at first, Ron and Hermione are both kind of like, but then as soon as Harry's like, okay, but Ron, your dad, that's when Ron is like, oh, yep, I'm with Harry here. We got to go.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't mean as much to him in the grand scheme of things, but the Avery vision also is a factor here, because it happened in between the one with Arthur and the one with Sirius. And Harry remembers how painful that situation was for him, which you could argue should have given him a little bit more of a clue as to the fact that the Sirius one was fake, because he wasn't feeling as much of an intense reaction to it. But again, he's now had a series of visions that have occurred, which he knows to be true. Why should he not believe the one about Sirius to be true?
Yeah. I just feel like if Voldemort was torturing Sirius, he'd be feeling that emotion coming through to his scar.
Yeah.
And
Harry would not.
If he wasn't getting what he wanted, he'd feel that coming through his scar. Like, Voldemort would be experiencing some powerful emotion that would be making it to Harry's head, and he's not getting it. And I think what we're supposed to be taking from moments like the one I quoted is that there are some red flags here that Harry isn't fully digesting.
Yeah. I remember just a few chapters ago, we went through, like, what were the signs that this was fake, and should Harry have known? And, like, I agree, Harry doesn't have the level of self-control at this junction where he would be tuning out or able to tune out what's going on currently with Voldemort and Sirius. He would be constantly looking. Somebody else would need to fly the Thestral for him or make sure he doesn't fall off, because Harry would be constantly watching. You know, sometimes he just, like, decides to look and then he sees later on what's going on with Voldemort. That would be him now, because he couldn't afford to miss what's going on. It's just kind of,
all the more reason for them to double up on Thestrals.
So let's get into it. We have talked about how the atrium of the Ministry is deserted. Eric Munch not doing his job.
Suspicious.
Red flag.
Exactly know what's
Listen,
going.
Eric Munch checks out at 5 p.m.
Yeah,
he's gone.
Yeah, he's very big
he's
on
not
work-life
paid enough
balance.
to stay late. Yeah, too.
Can we also talk about how there should be some security measure in place when Harry Potter checks into the Department of or the Ministry of Magic?
Yeah, he gave his real name, didn't he?
Not only that, he says he's there for a rescue mission.
If you guys aren't going to do anything about it,
to Aurors, to people in positions of power, isn't there somebody checking the folks who are coming into the Ministry? Yeah.
Maybe they did have an alert, but then they kept getting prank calls by, like, the teen London wizards who would come and be like, "It's Harry Potter," haha. And then the Ministry was like,
teen London wizards.
Those youths. They were like, you know what? Harry Potter's not coming here. Just cancel it.
Well, if Harry Potter's not a red flag, Neville Longbottom should be, because that's what Harry said his name was when he went on the night bus. But Neville's with them, so they said Neville's name too, and that didn't raise any flags. So it would be under. It's funny because I think, like, Neville's probably a known alias of Harry Potter because of what happened in year 3. So now Neville can't sign into government buildings without getting extra security checks. Poor Neville. But yeah, I agree. This is just kind of wild. I really do wonder how they managed to pull this off and have so few people, because that security position is not something that at 5 o'clock it stops. It's a shift. Somebody else has to come take that over.
And Harry even notes that when he's taking the elevator, he notices how noisy it is, which he didn't notice when he was there for his trial. And he's noticing that because everything else is so quiet. it's quiet, too quiet. It's that type of
It's
thing. Like
too quiet.
there's too many red flags, and it's, rereading this chapter, knowing where it's going, he falls right into Voldemort's and the Death Eater's trap. It's tough to read.
Rereading it, I was trying to find out, is there any point where he actually says to Neville or Luna, like, hey, just so you're aware, we're gonna go see Voldemort right now. Like they're kind of vague about like what they're doing. Like it's not until even like at the end when Neville's like, Sirius Black, was that a friend of yours, Harry? Like he and Luna are just like they're not really told what's going on.
They're along for the ride.
Luna's somewhat clued in on the Sirius end of things because she refers to him as Stubby Boardman.
Yeah.
But
and no one corrects
really
her,
know
so she thinks that they're there for Stubby Boardman.
I want to know what she thinks they're doing there. Like, totally.
Yeah, there's definitely an eerie sense of them entering the Ministry. The fact that you're in this huge government entity and it's totally empty. As Andrew said, the elevators are making noise. You'd think, though, Harry was just there at the beginning of, or just prior to him going off to Hogwarts, that should have also been a major clue to him that something wasn't right. Like, there has to be somebody there. Like, people work late in all sorts of office settings, and I would assume the Ministry is a place that, even
especially
though
it's a
government building, like those people are working long hours, overtime.
Crime doesn't end. Crime's around the clock.
No. Yeah, there's 24-hour security for sure. The thing that I like about it, I've never noticed this before. When Harry signs in the telephone booth, he says that they're there to save some people if your Ministry can't do it first. He actually gives the government a little bit of credit. He's like, hey, you guys, we're here. And also you guys should come join us. Like, I gotta say, Harry has no reason to really be like that, trusting of them, but he flat out says it, like, you guys should. Well,
I took that as I'm frustrated that I have to come here and take care of this myself. Like, why is my godfather in danger?
To me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm 15. Why am I doing this?
Here I go again, saving
AI telephone booth lady. That's not going to get you anywhere. You ever try sassing Siri?
She's sass proof.
I have a saving people thing because nobody else goes and saves people.
Harry Potter, parenthesis, annoying, rescue mission. Yeah. Oh, man. No,
I imagine that this entire time Hermione was thinking, like, this isn't right. There should be people here. Something is very wrong. But she has just been so rattled by the entire day. Like, she just wanted to finish her owls. She's cold. She royally screwed up with the centaurs. Grop was bleeding all over her. I just imagine at this point she's just exhausted. And so she's like, I just can't even, I don't have the bandwidth to even argue with Harry anymore about this.
I do like what Michelle said in the Discord. Luna doesn't need to know what they're doing there. She's a total ride or die. It's true.
She is immediately.
Yeah. And I've said this before, but I like the friendship that like Luna and Ginny have, sort of inter-house friendship, that they're down a corridor, they hear a noise, they both go check it out. Mm-hmm. We were talking in the last chapter how wild it is that this big group forms, but really like these people have been spending time together all year. And Neville, at least, really wants to be able to help and be able to prove himself to himself, I think, in the defense front.
And I can't remember if this happens in the book, but it is a nice touch in the movie when Neville kind of has that moment with Bellatrix where she like says, how are your parents? And he says, better, now they're about to be avenged. You're like, oh, Neville is meant to be here right now.
Yeah, that line goes hard. That line goes real hard. So let's talk. So essentially, the Department of Mysteries is exactly how Harry remembers it in his dream. That's probably a red flag. There's always something that changes, right? That chair wasn't there. It should be there.
Yeah, it shouldn't be perfectly accurate.
It shouldn't be empty, and it shouldn't be exactly the same accurate. But at this point, he's so far along, he's just going to get to the end of the thing, make a right at the room, and then it's going to, there's no way he's turning back. So we get into the room that rotates, and it's like we joked, but like it's got to be a big motor, right? That just rotates the walls and the doors.
It's
and
the owls
magic.
underneath spinning it around, working
Owls?
overtime. House elves are spinning it around from below.
Just a crank, just a big wooden crank that they're turning.
It's just a thestral on a wheel going around in a
Oh.
circle.
Thestral on a wheel. Oh, and it's raw meat dangling on a stick in front of it, and then it's going to the raw meat.
We're
It's real
horrible
sad.
people.
Yeah, but the ministry is more horrible for making
Exactly.
that.
We
sort of
want
thing
them to be
exist.
freed.
Yeah.
Free the thestrals.
Let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go root around in that dumpster.
So let's talk about one of the rooms here. And it's a bit awkward. There's a giant tank. There's these floaty white things, which are not immediately apparent what they are. And it turns out that's right. Not your first 5 guesses, but your 6th guess, human brains, is what's in there.
I'm squeamish when it comes to stuff like this. I've been watching The Pit lately on Max. I'm sure some of our listeners have been watching that. It shows a lot of stuff coming out of the body, and that's hard for me to watch. So, like, I've always been this type of way, so I couldn't handle this room. I'd be out of there once I realized they were brains.
I like Luna's theory. She doesn't like aquavarious maggots.
I don't want it
Like
to be them either.
imagine maggots that size just swimming.
No
I would
thanks.
be-
just
I
want
would
her
be
to be
entranced by
right
that.
one time.
Oh,
Yeah,
Luna?
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Give her something.
I love that.
Yes,
I
Luna,
like-
it is maggots.
For there to actually be like empirical proof that the Rot Fang conspiracy or something is real, and they just stumble
Yeah.
upon it in a room, and then she's like, "Daddy's gonna love this," and she takes the document. Yeah,
For me-
she's earned that much.
For me, it's despite the fact that we are in the wizarding world, I think this room in particular shows that witches and wizards likely know just as much or as little about the human mind and all of its intricacies. And so they need to study, just like doctors here in the Muggle world study the brain. And there's so much about it that we still don't know. I feel like we're finding out new things each and every year.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any overlap between unspeakables and healers in this room.
That's an interesting.
They're unspeakable, except for they speak to some healers about it, so that healers can better work with this kind of thing at St. Mungo's.
Well, they've solved the big problem, which is that, you know, in the Muggle world, we can only really study the brain through like MRI and some imaging devices, or after it's after the host has been deceased. However, this time they solved the problem of the brain being hidden in people's heads, and they managed somehow to get the brains to animate themselves. This is the part that unsettles me. I tried to figure out what about this is creepy. Is it the giant tank? Is it the way the lighting is? No, it's the fact that brains are autonomously swimming around in a tank, not just sitting in formaldehyde, but actually swimming around. That unsettles me. Are these then the exact same as a human brain that has just come from someone's head, you know, be a wizard? Or are they something more?
Well, Eric, when you're swimming around, isn't that your brain swimming itself around just with like added flesh?
Yeah, my brain is commanding my body to swim around, but my brain couldn't do it on its own. That's why there's a body.
So you're kind of
So
saying
you don't like
it
that
has
these
a
brains have
life
a
of
little like
its own.
zoom power.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's basically the brains with tentacles that extend and attack is just kind of one step too far for me.
Well, this could be some kind of bad experiment that goes wrong when we get to the actual battle portion and we see one of the brains attack Ron in the next chapter. Who knows what kind of things the unspeakables might be doing to these brains to try and find out different things, right? Like they could be doing magic on them, and that's why they have these tentacles and attack. I don't know.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, because you would think if your brain is being dissected like this and analyzed and used for research, maybe the brain would be like, well, I don't like this, and becomes increasingly
especially
defensive.
a magical brain.
Hostile.
Yeah.
In 374, you guys all kind of theorize, like, what if, like, can you be an organ donor? Or were these brains donated by wizards? And you talk about a bit like, what kind of wizard would donate their brain for this? Is it like very powerful wizards and that's what they're studying? Could it be like the brains of evil wizards? And could that be why they attack? Because these are evil brains?
Brains of magical beasts, too, maybe? We don't necessarily know if they're human brains.
Could be the brains that were jettisoned out of people who went through the veil and ended up in the brain room.
Yeah.
But I also think, too, like, I love this idea. I guess I'm first considering it that when we think of the Department of Mysteries, we think of these rooms as being the definitive way to study their subject matter. You know, like the time room, like, oh, there's no better way to study time than exactly the structure of the time room. But I love this idea that Micah brought up that this could just be mad science happening. Like, this doesn't need to be the definitive way to study whatever it is they're studying in that room. This is just a creepy room in a creepy place.
Mm-hmm.
Which you're bound to find in a place called the Department of Mysteries.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we just got to keep that in mind, too. Like, they are just trying to answer in all of these departments life's big questions: death, love, the brain. I think, Micah, you said a few minutes ago, there's still endless research to do on humans and the human body and the human experience, all of that. So it's not like necessarily surprising that they're analyzing the brain. They can just do it in a way that Muggles can't. And that's the shocking part.
To that end, I want to say I have a less creepy suggestion for what they could be studying here. And I wonder if, because there's more than one brain in a tank, what would be the purpose of doing that unless the brains are connected or linked telepathically? Maybe they're trying to create like a collective consciousness or something.
There's so many options. Maybe they're doing all of them. There's no, one goal here.
Yeah.
And we don't know who's doing the actual research and what their background is. They could be a bit of a mad scientist at the end of the day and doing experiments under the ministry's nose that, I mean, let's face it, it's not like the ministry keeps tabs what's going on in the ministry, right?
No.
So
yeah, who is overseeing the unspeakables? I kind of feel like they just have like free reign to do whatever they want.
Like special projects.
Like if an unspeakable's like, I want to get a massive tank and fill it with brains. The other unspeakables
are like,
sure, man.
Oh, that's Dave's idea again. Always Dave. I have to think there's some hierarchy. There are people that if the Wizarding world had like a Department of Defense, right, or Homeland Security or something like that, there would always be a higher level justification and a higher level of like supervision than just whoever happens to work in that department, because there's people who hire them, and there must be some kind of motive behind that. But yeah, who knows? There is, of course, the famous room that Harry and friends cannot get into. And instead of using the gift from Sirius that Harry should have used all year, he instead tries to use the knife and fails miserably to open the door to the room that Dumbledore tells him is filled with love.
The world's greatest mystery. And yeah, so can't be unlocked with Sirius's knife or Alohomora. And it's kind of interesting that the protection here is extremely strong to protect whatever they're researching related to love, related to one of the most mysterious things of all time. It kind of feels funny to say that love is so mysterious, but it kind of
I know. When you think of love, you think mystery. Absolutely.
Yeah. But what's funny to me is that this one's locked down, but meanwhile, the death room where the veil is, like, oh, anybody can just go in, no problem. It's no issue. So you can die in one room
doors
easily.
To the death room.
Yeah, right. A lot of security should be there. But I think this is sort of trying to tell us something about just, I don't know if it's the author. Is the author trying to tell us something about love? Which I guess maybe kind of ties into Lily's protection for Harry, saving his life.
Yeah, it's just as well that we didn't see what's inside it and get told later by Dumbledore what's inside it, because frankly, if you're writing a Department of Mysteries and it's supposed to house all the mysteries of the universe that wizards are working on, you have to have a door you can't open. It doesn't matter what's in there. There has to be a door, no matter what, you can't open. It doesn't matter what's
happening in there is too inappropriate for children.
Yeah.
And the author was like, I'm locking it. The kids can't get in here. That's
yeah. Yeah.
There was a interview where the author was on an episode of PotterCast, and they asked her about this, and I don't like what she said. She said, in the love room, there's just a bunch of unspeakables drinking love potions and seeing how they act. and that the door is locked because of that. And I think that's stupid.
But you can still go and die in the other room? I don't know. That
yeah.
Sometimes I think she just pulls stuff out of thin air, just like without thinking it through. I think she was
like, I don't want to be on a podcast anymore. I'm just going to
get out of here. I think it's one of the dumbest answers I've ever heard. Well, because amortentia, the love potion, is not love, it's infatuation. It's certainly not, it cannot be likened, no matter how hard you try, to the love that gives Harry his protection from his mother. Can't. So for the love room to be just a bunch of unspeakables taking some love potion.
And for it to be like, oh, the door's obviously locked because crazy things go on in there. I much prefer that the door is just locked because the study of love is so strong that the love room has kind of like locked itself.
Ooh.
And from outsiders. And
like
that
only
and
the worthy can get in.
Something like that. And that it's not just people in there drinking love potions and seeing what happens. Like I imagine that room to be more about like what studying what actually like what is love. Baby don't hurt me. But like
baby,
I'm imagining
don't hurt me.
Like I imagine it to be about like what is the purpose of love?
What is love?
Is it
who's saying that? Maybe like that person's in the love room, just singing.
Hadaway's in the love room.
He's singing. Like, because there's so many questions though. Like, why does love exist? Is if it's just like for the biological imperative to like find companionship and reproduce? How does that explain like why certain people who find love don't end up reproducing? And like, why is love different between humans than it is between other species? But then like, why do certain species like mate for life? Why are certain species monogamous versus not? And like, what kind of love is that? This is like what I like to imagine is going on in that room.
Based on what she said, it sounds like the love room is just the break room.
That we talked about earlier. There's also foosball and an orgy pit. Sorry, a conversation.
No. And the band Foreigner is in there as well, and they're singing their 1984 hit, I Want to Know What Love Is.
It's just a concert room.
Yeah, and Tina Turner's in there too, and she's singing, What's Love Got to Do with It?
Why's the love room got a lock on it?
Yeah, but I mean, to Andrew's point, look, the death room, which we're going to talk about, you can just go up to it, presumably jump in, and never return.
You can die in the death room without even going through the veil. You just fall down the 20 feet of steps.
Yeah, very dangerous. You're going to break your neck.
To the clip you played earlier, though, perhaps Death Eaters were strategic in terms of the rooms that they were making available to...
That wasn't a clip, Micah. That was me really singing Foreigner. I Want to Know What Love Is.
I feel more powerful.
Me too.
No, that was actually Foreigner was here.
The question is, if the Death Eaters went around unlocking all the doors, and they decided not to unlock the love room, was there the insight there that maybe the forces within the love room could have actually made Harry more powerful? Because love protects Harry from Voldemort, presumably. That would be one that, I mean, I don't think any Death Eater or Voldemort has a concept so conscious that is, love is what I don't have and will be my undoing, to avoid it. But at the same time, if Harry went in there, he'd pretty much be invincible. It's his love for his friends
and flexing.
Yeah, it's his love for his friends that saves him time and again. It's his love for Sirius that prevents him from jumping through the veil that he kind of wants to do in the death room.
It's his love for Sirius that gets Voldemort out of his head a few chapters from now when Voldemort tries to possess him.
Yeah, so love, Harry and love are very tight, but he can't get in the door.
And I doubt the Death Eaters would want a bunch of unspeakables running around while they're trying to
what if
deal with these
kids? The Death Eaters just locked everyone in the love room. It was like, they'll entertain themselves.
Now kiss.
And the Unspeakables are like, this is just Thursday. This is just what we do every week. This is fun.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why the Death Eaters and Voldemort scheduled it for that night. They were like,
Ooh.
Thursday night is when
Karaoke
the Unspeakables go to karaoke in the love room. We'll just lock them in there, and then we do our plan.
One of the things I wanted to mention, though, and this is what makes what the author said just even more questionable, is that Dumbledore later on in this book describes this room as containing a force that is at once more wonderful and more terrible than death, than human intelligence, than the forces of nature.
It sounds to me like he and Grindelwald were in that room once.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know.
That can't be a canon. I don't care who said it. There's no way that there's a, just like the Veil, which we're going to talk about in a moment, is an otherworldly thing that mankind, I think, could not have created, but which they are forced to always witness. The Love Room contains something just like that.
It can't just be Unspeakables being in there being like, smells like chocolate to me. Smells like fresh grass to me.
Let's talk about the Stone Dais and the room that it's in after more words from these sponsors. Alrighty, we're back, and it's time to talk about the room that is not appearing on the Deathly Hallows American Edition cover. It's a large stone amphitheater with a crumbly dais down in the center of a large, like I said, amphitheater type room. Now, Harry is strangely drawn to this room. It's one of the first ones they go into. And, the stakes could not be higher. He needs to find Sirius, but something about the Veil just attracts Harry. And Hermione, who we mentioned being exhausted from her flight and her horrible day, actually snaps out of herself long enough to scream at Harry to back up, that the Veil is dangerous and that he needs to focus on finding Sirius. She at least has the wherewithal, because he doesn't even realize he's doing this. He has one foot stepping up. He is sure that there are people inside the Veil. People, not person, not an intelligence, not something vaguely he feels he's being watched. People. He thinks there are people on the other side. Guys, what's going on here?
The foreshadowing is overwhelming to the point where I almost feel like you can't call it foreshadowing, because it's just telling you what's going to happen. Harry is calling to Sirius in the Veil room, in the Death Room. And Harry and Luna can hear the voices coming from the Veil. And I actually found this to be pretty interesting as a follow-up to last week's discussion on what would happen to Thestrals if they were pushed through the Veil. So it sounds like if you have experienced witnessing somebody die, you can hear voices coming through the Veil, right? And so I was very surprised by how just kind of like obvious it is what's going to happen. Reading it again, hindsight's 2020, but I can't believe that Harry is hearing Sirius through the Veil already.
Yeah. Well, and I can't remember sequentially, does the Death Room come before the Love Room
in the chapter?
I think so.
I think it does. I think it's brains, then death, then love, then time.
What ends up happening as they try and enter the Love Room, which was mentioned, is Sirius's knife basically dissolves. And that's another bit of foreshadowing, you could argue, that basically Sirius is about to dissolve.
So that's what he was hearing through the Veil. It was actually Sirius's knife because it had died.
Oh, really just the question about whether Luna, it's a small sample size, but yes, we know that the few people that can see Thestrals also can hear these voices. Harry is desperate just not to be the only one who can hear them. I think he doesn't want to be proven to be crazy.
Well, Harry and Luna definitely hear the voices. Harry's kind of like, I think there's voices in there. Luna's like, there are voices in there. And then Neville and Ginny are also kind of staring entranced at it. And Neville has also seen death, but Ginny hasn't. But she's still entranced by it. And I imagine it has something to do with her experience as a first-year student at Hogwarts, what happened that entire year. Meanwhile, Ron and Hermione are so like, what's the big deal? And Hermione, I think Hermione's anger comes from like not being able to understand something. I think that's what is fueling her being like, it's dangerous, get away from it. I think is that she just doesn't understand it. And I think out of the 6 people there, Ron and Hermione are the 2 that are most like, not like Hermione ruled by her head, definitely, but like the 2 like most realistic, most like
Pragmatic,
in reality,
grounded
of most grounded of that 6. And that's why they're kind of like, this is weird, we're gonna stay away from it.
But wasn't
they're the most
Come on.
pure. Yeah.
Ron and Harry were almost playing like peekaboo around the side of the. I was worried for a minute for Ron that something was going to happen there. But
I'm glad nothing reached out and grabbed him. Yeah.
I did pull from that same interview you mentioned earlier, Meg, what the author had to say about the veil. And I can just read it here quickly. She said that it's the divide between life and death. I tried to do a nod to that in The Tale of the Three Brothers. She was separate from them as though through a veil. You can't go back if you pass through that veil. You cannot come back. Or you can't come back in any form that will make either person happy anyway. But when they surround that veil in Order of the Phoenix, I was trying to show that depending on their degree of skepticism or belief about what lay beyond, Luna believes firmly in an afterlife. She's very clear on that. And she feels them speaking or hears them speaking much more clearly than Harry does. This is the idea of faith. Harry thinks he can hear them. He's drawn on. But Harry's had a life that has been so imbued with death that he now has an uncharacteristically strong curiosity about the afterlife, especially for a boy of 15. Ron is just scared, as I think Ron would be. He just knows this is something he doesn't want to dabble with. Hermione, hyper-rational Hermione, can't hear anything, get away from the veil. So if you walk through the veil, you're dead. You're dead. What you find on the other side, well, that's the question.
And that is what the Ministry is studying, I presume. I also kind of thought maybe it's some sort of, they want to kind of maybe open up a portal between life and death.
Yeah.
Because right now it's one way, but what if they could reverse it somehow?
Right. There's a very real value to having that be studied, having that be a thing that's studied.
Yeah, man, a lot of power would come with that.
So, and you get like all the answers to exactly how the universe works.
The portal piece is interesting because I remember we have talked about this before on the show, and there was this longstanding theory that the veil is some kind of ancient relic or portal that the Ministry was actually built around. And we know that the veil is at least as old as the Ministry because it was there at the time that it was built, which was early 1700s. So I'm still inclined to believe that it was there before the Ministry was there. I don't think the Ministry like built it or brought it in. I just, that's my headcanon. I think it was there.
I agree with that. And I have an entire theory about this. In fact, I think that these sort of portals exist all over Earth. And most of them are in places like in the wilderness, in the middle of nowhere. In fact, most of them are probably in the ocean because that's like 75% of the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's probably a portal like this somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. And that's why things go missing there, because they just pass on through to another plane of existence. I think this one in London, though, just happens to be one that people found because, think about London. It was built there because it was a port city. And when you're building a new society, you want there to be water so that you can do, fishing and trading with other cities. And so I think that, over time, people in London started, muggles and wizards, presumably, because this was a long, long time ago. They started realizing like, when certain people go for walks, they don't come back. And so I think that these portals are invisible. And I think that at some point humans were like, we need to mark this somehow so that people stop walking through it and going missing. So I think people put up these ancient stones and got this tattered cloth and hung it there. And then I think that as, life continued and society progressed and the statute of secrecy was passed sometime in the 1600s, wizards were like, we gotta we're having a society here where we study things. Let's build a building around this thing so we can study it further. And then when the statute of secrecy was passed and it was time to, build a ministry away from Muggle eyes, they were like, well, we've already got this magic building where we're studying this veil. Let's just expand upon that. And I think that the veil is much, much older than that. And I think it's much older than the ministry itself by like thousands of years. And the reason I think that is because it's underground. So I think that like 100,000 years ago, that was ground level. But then, with tectonic plates shifting and continents changing and just Earth happening, land built up over that. But throughout the entire process, the wizards were like, well, this is our little death room where we study that. And I think at one point wizards were like, we could also use this as a place to execute people. And that's why there's like the amphitheater aspect to it, is so that people could sit around and
that's
and
right.
watch,
Harry does
because people loved watching public executions back in the day.
Yeah, Harry does
like
visually compare
burnings.
it to the trial room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of a great theory, Meg. I do love the idea of it being the ministry being built around the veil, because then the veil kind of takes the form as like the root of the Ministry of Magic. And there's a lot that could probably be said there about this gateway to death being the root of
being the root of all things.
And I think we do this naturally, whether we realize it or not, is important buildings are built off of certain energy places, like high energy places or important places. Like Meg mentioned the port city. That's exactly right. I also just think that, we may not know it, but there's ample examples of ancient cities, particularly being either directly aligned with constellations at the time or something crazy where people feel there's energy and there's power. So it makes sense that the seat of power for the government, for the wizarding world in Britain, would be in the same place as this, very powerful ancient artifact object.
And there's something poignant about it being like it started the ministry basically, and now barely anyone at the ministry knows that it's there even now at this point in time.
I like that. Yeah.
And this is why studying history can be really interesting, because it's like, well, why was Chicago built there? Why was Las Vegas built there? And you hear about, Chicago's on the water and, port, it was a port and all that. Like that too, like a lot of cities get built along water where ships can come in, drop off goods, stuff like that. That's how cities grow into what they are today, hundreds of years later. We're talking about a port right now with the veil coming and going, built around yet another portal in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So we will spend more time in this next room next week or 2 weeks from now when we destroy it. But let's talk briefly about the Hall of Prophecy, which is finally they get in the right door. Harry notices some shining. He's like, this is it. There's lots of shelves. Any new takes on the Hall of Prophecy, guys? What kind of do we think was the plan here? Is just to get Harry to go and take it off the shelf because no one else can?
It hit me a lot harder, I think, reading it than it did in previous times, because I really felt bad for Harry in this moment, because I think despite the fact that he's able to retrieve the prophecy, I think he also, before that, has a period of recognition and almost reckoning with himself, where he realized that he's been hoodwinked. He realizes that Sirius is not here, and that everything that Hermione was telling him prior to them departing Hogwarts was true.
And I think one reason it hit me harder this time is because just with more lived experience, like I'm not sure I can say I've been hoodwinked before, and certainly not in this type of way, but you experience those moments in your life where your stomach just drops. You feel the floor come out from under you. That's the feeling that Harry's experiencing here. And when we read this as adults, we can really relate to that moment. We know what he's feeling.
Yeah, he runs around the shelf a couple more times, looking behind it, and when Ron is trying to point out that there is a clue or something, Harry's first inclination is, no, shut up, Ron, because he's sure that Ron's going to point out how duped and stupid Harry was. So I think Harry, it finally sinks in that what he saw was not the truth.
Yeah.
But then there's some hope. So that's kind of neat.
One thing I did want to mention is that when they find the prophecy with Harry's name on it, before grabbing it, Neville is the one who tells Harry to not pick up the prophecy with his name on it. And the prophecy, as we know, also could have been about Neville. Right. So I'm wondering if this line being delivered from Neville is a wink about that.
Probably. And the prophecy is even labeled with a question mark. I think it's not said. I was expecting in this chapter to see it, but maybe it's in a later chapter where it says like the part that says Harry Potter is actually hand drawn. Or am I making this up? Where it's like the question mark was like the engraving.
Written in spidery writing.
Yeah. Okay. Because, it could have been either of them. I like that Neville's involved in trying to caution Harry. That's kind of neat.
Don't pick it up, Harry, because it's mine to pick up. We're scratching off your name, and I'm writing mine. I put that memory in your head about Sirius. It was me.
Oh, plot twist.
You.
Not me, not Hermione, Neville.
Yes. Yes, there's no good and evil. There's only prophecies, and those too weak to seek them. So it's an interesting kind of hoodwinking, perplexing situation, and we'll have to tune in to see how the kids get out of it. But we do hear the voice of Lucius Malfoy. Finally, something is about to happen. After all of this mystery, after all of these empty rows and nobody's where they should be, we do finally, at the very least, hear a familiar, unfriendly voice.
Yeah.
And
what was Lucius doing? Was he just like
staying out of sight, making no noise, pretending
all
he didn't
hiding,
exist?
being like, shh, okay, here they come.
No, really, yeah. It's like that scene in Labyrinth with all the goblins in the closet, because they needed, here's how it doesn't work, because it was all up to chance. They needed Harry to go to row 97, that was planted. But then they need somebody to look close enough at one of, like, I don't know if it's at eye level, they need somebody to look at the specific prophecy that says APWBD to SPT regarding blank Harry Potter. They need somebody to notice that and then go, hey, Harry, there's a thing. And then him to take it, realize he has to touch it and pull it off the shelf. How unlikely is that? I don't know. He does it in about 5 seconds. So,
but was there a backup plan in case they were like, oh, Sirius isn't here? Okay, guys, let's go back to Hogwarts. And didn't see it.
I feel like Lucius could have coerced them.
Right. Or he just hears, pick up on aisle 97.
And Harry, from his many years in retail, knows what that means. It's time to look around.
Prophecy pick up on aisle 97. I thought we could do for the MVP segment of the week the most interesting room at the Department of Mysteries. For me, it is the Death Room. Meg, loved your theory. I loved our discussion about it. There's just so much that could be considered when it comes to that room. What is the Ministry doing with the veil? How did it get there? Was the Ministry built around it? Why is it so easy to pass through that veil? I have so many questions for this room, more than any other room, I think.
I mean, I think all these rooms have to do with mysteries in life, in reality. But I do think that, more than love, more than brains, more than time, death is the ultimate mystery. It's the biggest mystery of all.
Mm-hmm.
I actually put mine sort of a cop-out, but also I'm interested. Because they're in a hurry, we don't go to all the rooms. So my most interesting room is the rooms that we don't see, because we don't know what we don't know. And I'm assuming there are a few other mysteries that are kept hidden away.
Mm-hmm. Well, much like Ginny, I was intrigued by the time room and would love to have spent a little bit more time there. No pun intended. I know we will get some more of it in the upcoming chapters during the battle, but just with everything that happened in Prisoner of Azkaban, we know that the Ministry has or had supposedly time turners that they destroyed, but what else are they studying there as it relates to time?
And I said the love room. Now, if it's just people doing love potion shots, I'm not that interested in that. But if it is the idea of studying,
what about if there's karaoke?
The theory. If there's karaoke, that's a different. I will.
Then I will.
We could sing Love Shack.
We will do
Meg.
Love Shack.
Ooh,
we will
yes.
do it. Love Shack. Oh, that's got to be what happens in there. But just the overall idea of what is it? Why is it? Why did it evolve?
Why? Why love? How love?
Why?
Who
Why
love?
love? How?
How
When?
love?
When love? Where
When
love?
love. So the 5 things I ask myself every morning.
Well, that, I believe, concludes our chapter discussion. Now, let's go over to the links line, where MuggleCast listeners who are members of our community at patreon.com/MuggleCast have answered this week's question, which actually is open-ended. What other rooms should be represented at the Ministry of Magic Department of Mysteries? So this follows up on my cop-out answer of what rooms do you actually think that would be there?
B said, a room that studies the origins of magic itself in its rawest form. It could contain artifacts and such from throughout history. My public health-minded wife would also like to add a room that studies the socio-economical impact of magic on Muggle communities. We are road tripping across Washington State and have been discussing our answers to this question for far too long.
I love that. That's really cool, B. Next one comes from Robert. There should be a, quote, Fudge is special room, where the walls are lined with portraits of all of Fudge's supposed enemies who can shower him with praise and tell him what a good job he's doing, and also how handsome and smart he is. There's also 2 punching bags shaped like Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore, and a mirror for Fudge to look into and tell himself that everything's okay and he's actually doing a good job.
Isn't this just his office?
Probably. But I love the idea that it's that he requisitions the unspeakables to build a room strictly so he can feel better about his life.
He really wants to have one room on every floor of the ministry.
Yeah.
Specifically for that purpose.
Michael says, a Muggle science department where they study how and why different non-magical phenomena work, but obviously completely fail, trying to understand gravity, thinking chemical reactions must be magic, researching evolution could be some examples.
Shyam, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says there should be a snack, tea, and coffee room with comfy chairs. Unspeakables work an extremely stressful job and need a room where they don't need to study anything and can just take a breather.
Yes, they do. Nicole said, a rubber duck room. We need answers.
And Jill says, I think there should be an innocence room to study the concept of what kind of magic and wisdom we all have when we are innocent and young. Often children are even more intuitive than we give credit for. They, quote, know things unexplainably and sometimes remember past lives or can speak or pass messages from people who are passed on as if by magic. A room to study the concept of innocence and wisdom and how they go hand in hand would be fascinating from a magical perspective. Of course, with no real children in the room, not suggesting that, more like Love Room, which is more about harnessing the conceptual force of love.
We got a few more answers as well. Patrons, you can read those. I love the creativity as always. If you want to participate in the links line, you can become a member at patreon.com/MuggleCast. And don't forget, right now, we're running a 20th anniversary special. Now through the end of August, you can get 20% off an annual membership to our Patreon. Just use code 20years at checkout. And by supporting us there, you'll be helping us fly into the next 20 years of MuggleCast. So thank you so much for your help there. Speaking of the 20th, next week on the pod, we will celebrate 20 years of the show, and then we'll get back to chapter by chapter 2 weeks from now. If you're looking for other ways to support us, you can visit MuggleCastMerch.com to buy official gear. And by the way, patrons have access to a 20th anniversary discount code through the month of August. So much 20th anniversary excitement happening right now. Other ways to support us, you can leave us a review in your favorite podcast app and tell a fellow Muggle about the show. Lastly, visit MuggleCast.com for quick access to all of this information, our contact form, and a lot more. If you're looking for more podcasting from the 4 of us, you can listen to our other shows, Millennial and What the Hype, for more pop culture and real-world talk. And now it's time for our Harry Potter trivia game show, Quizzage.
This week's question was, psychologically, human beings respond to threats in one of 4 ways, all starting with the letter F. 2 of them are fight and flight. What are the other 2? I want to thank everybody for all of your F words. Really appreciated that. And this week's correct answer, in addition to fight and flight, freeze and fawn are the most common answers. A fifth F word does exist, sometimes it's called flop, where you just kind of pass out. But freeze and fawn are the 4 Fs, those in fight and flight. 64% of folks with the correct answer say they did not look it up. Correct answers were submitted by, oh boy, here we go. A Healthy Breeze, Big Time Freezer, D7 Hufflepuff, Debortment of Mysteries. I love Bort. Defense Against Dumbledore's Army, Dumbledore the Pathological Manipulator, Elizabeth K, Emotional Range of a Teaspoon, Fantastic Fearless Forager of Forgotten Fungi, First Time Answering So Excited I Know One of These,
Aww.
Fits Fat Suffices. Yeah, welcome to Quizzitch. Fluffy's Three Heads, Hufflepuffle Kitty Fluffle, I thought it was a doe, not a fawn. I am a social worker and my education has prepared me for this moment. Julianne Fay, must be a Weasley 92. My parents used to pronounce Firenze as fire knees, and now I can't unsee it. That's hilarious. Risen Doors must not tell lies. Slytherin's squib, tickled by a disco ball. Yes, another Weasley. And Tofu Tom. Wow.
That's what's
Congrats.
happening in the love room. People being tickled by disco balls.
And so here is next week's Quizzitch question. When entering the Department of Mysteries, Harry and friends first encounter a room with many unmarked doors. Similarly, the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, USA has over 2,000 doors in its mansion, which contains 160 rooms. How many windows are present in the Winchester Mystery House? This is a multiple choice Quizzitch question. Is the answer A, 2001, B, 10,000, C, 665, or D, 4,000? How many windows are present in the house that has 160 rooms and 2,000 doors in San Jose, California, USA? Submit your answers to us on the Quizzitch form located on the MuggleCast website, mugglecast.com/Quizzitch. Or if you're on the website, maybe checking out those lovely transcripts that Meg does, click on Quizzitch from the main nav.
Thanks, Meg, for joining us. And at the last minute, too, we really appreciate your help on today's episode and all your insights.
Oh, no problem. It's a great chapter. A real mysterious one.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there. You said the word. Listeners, don't forget to visit patreon.com/MuggleCast and become a member to support us. Please also leave a review in your favorite podcast app and tell a friend about the show. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
And I'm Meg.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.